was hammered in one of the Tresor doors at the club, and we said the circle stands for the sun, the stripe stands for the horizon. It is a rising sun on the horizon, actually a positive symbol, you know.
Tresor means to me artistic freedom.
The Tresor, when I buy a record from the label, never disappoints me.
Tresor and techno, it's a unit.
I first heard about Tresor when Dimitri Dimitri from the label told me that he was going to be opening up a club in what used to be a bank.
We were really lucky to find a location that was very located near the wall, actually in the heart of Berlin, between the east and the west.
For the World War, it was like a big bank in the middle of Berlin.
When we got the keys, and we actually have rented just the location upstairs, and then we found this door, you know.
I imagined it to be something like out of a James Bond film, you know, like this huge, like, silvery, shiny vault with, like, marble floors and these bars protecting the entrance to the vault, you know.
It was like opening a pyramid, you know, and that was magic.
And it wasn't until I actually went to the place and realised that it was this kind of, like, cellar where they used to keep the safety deposit boxes.
You have to realize that over 45 years nobody was here.
And then there was like rumours afterwards that if you spent a night in the Tresor, you'd get like some kind of a lung disease because of the air being so horrible and the place being shut for 40 years.
And then we worked really hard, and because there was no electricity, no water, nothing.
One of the most weirdest locations I think ever for a club to be in is in a bank vault.
Because it was a vault, they called it Tresor, because Tresor in German means vault.
It was a perfect location for this music and for the start of techno.
Techno scene wouldn't be able, in the way we know it, without the wall coming down.
The first 6 months of Tresor is musical history, you know. I mean, everybody came, everybody from the DJs, we flew weekly people in, mainly from Detroit.
They have a trance room, a house room, and in the basement, you know, hardcore, acid, whatever, you know. They're open-minded to everything, you know, in one party.
We have like 4, 5 clubs under one roof, you know, and with garden, so you can move, but it's still the same spirit everywhere.
In the beginning, yeah, the only club who brought foreign DJs here regularly. And that was the beginning of the whole, like, the Detroit-Berlin connection.
Anytime I play and the crowd is responsive, you know, it's just a great feeling, and you know, it makes you feel really good, and to be playing at a really responsive club, especially when you're trying to introduce new music and stuff, you know, like, you know, stuff that I think is really cool, that I'm not sure how people are going to react to it, and then you see them react in a positive way. It makes you feel good.
First we started with a club, and a few months later we released the stuff that was played here. And I can say youth helped a lot to build up the profile of Tresor and German techno actually in the States and in the UK and in other territories.
To get involved with Tresor means like music lovers meet each other.
The special sound of Tresor is techno in general, especially with its roots from Detroit, and so lots of Detroit artists performed in Tresor and are released on Tresor records as well.
It's a family, you know, we all get on really well together. The music kind of crosses channels. But let's consider what a family is, and let's see like how many families like can actually get on together. So like in this sense, like yes, maybe it is a family, but nobody's talking to each other.
It's the fresh attitude and the non-cliched attitude. You call it techno, you call it ambient, you call it whatever.
Tresor 3, you know, it shows actually where we are and where techno will go, you know.
Tresor is just about, you know, mind expansion, various levels.
We're not trying to do that commercial bullshit, you know.
For the people from Detroit on Tresor, like Blake Baxter, and, you know, for them it was, I think, really important. This is where their influences came from originally.
I think when the guys developed the Detroit sound in Detroit, nobody cared about the music. It was like, it was a big coincidence and a lucky coincidence that we were in touch before Tresor started, and it was the right forum for them to play their music here.
Germany's always been into a techno form, you know, and we basically were influenced by European music and house music.
The electronic music is, for me, a German thing, and the Detroit people work with this music and with this influence and have developed their own music, brought it back to Germany, and this balloon took off here at Tresor. Tresor they can trust, you know. We give space for experimental music, you know. That's actually the job of Tresor Records.
Dimitri, you know, he came to me and he said, you know, whatever you want, Blake, you know, but if I worked with another company, I would say, well, can you make it more like this? Or can you change the EQ? Or, you know, it's incorrect, you know, what's incorrect? Techno has lost its meaning in many ways, you know, because there's so many different forms of something that once was one form, you know. Like what we consider techno in Detroit is like totally light years away from what they consider techno here in Europe. For me, coming from Detroit, techno means totally something different. It's more a sound with emotion in it, you know. We all play this quote techno music, but you know, everyone has a different style and a different way of playing.
I never described it as techno music, but okay, this is the name they give it, and it's modern electronic music. What means techno? It's just a fancy word, and of course, it's more techno than rock and roll, so it's techno music. To be professional and earn money with the things you're doing is not commercial. I wanted lots of people get my record, but it's not music for the radios, for sure. Mainstream techno, because it's existing for years, mainstream techno. There was always more special things on Tresor. This is a good thing about the label.
I just try and make music I like, basically, and hope other people will like it, you know. I just do what I think is cool, you know. Really just trying to amuse myself, and if someone else buys it and thinks it's cool, then I'm happy, you know. Music has to keep a sort of underground quality, and it's got to sound sort of bedroomy, you know. Or what's the sense? It's not underground if it becomes this big commercial production done on millions of dollars worth of equipment. It just loses its appeal, loses its flavor. It's the stuff I do, you know. It's Joey Beltram being Joey Beltram. So, I mean, it's what people might expect from me, but you know, with the 95 flavor, you know, people that know what I'm about, you know, will enjoy it.
We have a track on the new Tresor compilation, Tresor 3 on Mother Mute, and it's called Monolith. It shows a little bit of a slightly harder side of some electric. We've been in contact with Dimitri ever since the Tresor was open.
In the beginning, of course, it was knocking us out. When we came down here the first time in this vault down there, and at that time techno came. We heard this kind of hard techno here the first time, and it was blowing your mind out down there. We had never seen something like that before.
Tresor Records is actually, it's kind of a trademark, a symbol for high qualified techno music, cultivated technological music, and I think it's still a trademark for innovation spirit.
Techno is still evolving. It's the newest form of music that I can imagine out there. You know? I hope it just keeps changing and new things keep being introduced. You know, I wouldn't want it to stay one way, even though the way I think it is now is cool. But it has to change. It has to keep going, to evolve, and keep interesting. You know.
And I believe that techno will develop and become pop music of the late 90s here in Germany, definitely.
I think techno will develop into something more commercial, of course, because once something is underground, it always becomes commercial eventually. Once, you know, the mass, it appeals to the mass.
The name techno won't be that important over the next couple of years, but we will just see the artists who were dedicated in working before techno, during techno, and after techno. That will continue.
Techno is not just techno music, it's short for technology, and anything dealing with technology is a friend to techno. I think basically we're just, you know, in ourselves, germs floating around in this big body of this computer that's being built, which is the true person, because the internet is connecting, which will be the veins, and pretty soon I think computers will say, hey, we don't need you guys. Thanks for hooking us up. See you later.